Back to the Dean Obeidallah show. Right now, very happy to welcome back to the show Max Brooks, best-selling author, published three massively successful zombie-themed books: The Zombie Survival Guide, World War Z, and the World War Z Zombie Survival Guide. What was the third one, Max?
Oh well, that was the graphic novel Recorded Attacks.
Oh, that all right. And also, he did Harlem Hellfighters, which is a great book about the African American unit in the trenches of World War One. And he's also a fellow at the Atlantic Council's Brent Scowcroft Center for Strategy and Security and the Modern War Institute at West Point, and probably other things, Max, because you didn't go on your bio yet because you're always doing stuff. So it's great to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Dino.
So we are just a little out of 30 days from the election ending. It's not even to election day because elections actually begin in certain states already. I saw that yourself and your father, Mel Brooks, have endorsed Kamala Harris. And your dad did a funny thing holding a dog, says, I don't have a cat, so a dog will have to do. But like Taylor Swift, I'm all in for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And you wrote, like my dad and our dog, we're all in. So, first of all, what did you chat with your dad? Like, why is he all in for Kamala?
We this election is so close, and we need all the votes we can get. And I think he's got two major advantages, and the first one is he spent the last 4 years putting election officials into every state, including the swing states. So if it's close enough, it's conceivable that they could discount those ballots. So we don't just need voter turnout; we need massive voter turnout. And the problem is always the problem on the Democratic side, which is everybody who wants Trump is voting for Trump.
Right.
He's got solid turnout, but not everybody who doesn't want Trump is voting for Harris. And that's why we really do need all hands on deck, especially among our base.
Yeah, and it's going to be, I mean, every poll, I cannot recall an election this close in every battleground state. A whole bunch of, from Cook Political today that came out, and Cook is truly nonpartisan. They do a pretty good job with their polling, just neck and neck. Now, the good thing is it's all with the margin of error. So it's going to be
Right.
about who wants it more and where the momentum is. And, you're in California. It's a state taken for granted. I'm not sure if in your circles you're speaking to people about the election. Is there a sense, are you getting a sense of more enthusiasm now than say a few months ago? Like what are you hearing?
Yeah, there's definitely the enthusiasm. The problem is Trump's got the center right and he's got the far right. We
Mhm.
have the center left, but as always, the far left is iffy. And that's always the problem is, with certain and young people too. This is the thing that we always talk about. Remember Bernie, he was like, I got the youth vote. I got the youth vote. Nobody does, dude. Nobody's got the youth vote. So even though Democrats are very excited about millions of new young people becoming eligible to vote, we don't know if they're actually going to vote.
I know. That's very true. Last night I had on John Bowser Bauman from Sha Na Na. I don't know if you remember from Sha Na Na. He works for Social Security Works. He's the head of their PAC. He travels the country. He's in the 70s. He sings some Sha Na Na's 50 songs, but speaks to seniors about Medicare and Social Security, and they're all in for Democrats. So his point was exactly what you made. Young people are iffy on voting. Seniors always vote. And recent polls show the gap between Trump and Harris are much closer than, and Democrats haven't won 65 and up in years. Like we've made it close at times, but he thinks there's a chance this time from what he's seeing out there. So your point's very well taken. Younger people have a lot of enthusiasm, but statistically it shows I wish they would turn out in huge numbers. It just shows they don't as much. So I'm hoping this year, I'm hoping with reproductive freedom, we've had a lot of Gen Z activists on. Just had someone on just the other day about from Next Gen. We've had voters for tomorrow and others on. The reproductive freedom issue is different. It's almost like a draft, like in the military, like it's
Yeah.
personal. This is a real issue for them. So perhaps then, and I don't know if your son, who's just in college now, is talking about what his friends are saying about these kind of issues.
This is this is what worries me sometimes is when we talk about young people, we have to also remember there's a huge gender divide among young people.
Yeah.
Young men, they're coming out conservative. There's a huge problem among young men in this country. Some of my son's friends, I don't know if they're for Trump, but that's another problem is they're saying, well, they're both full of it. I don't care for either one. Is young at the worst, they vote for Trump, but at the best, there's young male apathy. There's no jobs for me. The education system isn't set up for me. I've been demonized in the media as sort of, especially young white men, like supposedly I'm the great Satan. So why the hell should I vote? They've made it clear it's not my country anymore. The future is female. I'm male. So to hell with them both.
So it's interesting. I've polling shows that, and I've had people on from, again, Gen Z activists who've talked about, yeah, a lot of young men are involved, but that the right, even organically or by design, have been able to peel away certain people, some from the world of gamers, others just what you're saying, they're disinfected. They really don't believe the future is brighter for them. They are told that all the time. Their milestones are all being delayed. And for some reason, they're gravitating, some of them, to the right as opposed to just trying to change things. How do you think that gets addressed by Democrats in an effective way?
I think the Democrats finally got the message. I think this was the best Democratic convention I've certainly in my lifetime I've ever seen. I think they finally understood, oh, wow, maybe the faculty staff room at Oberlin shouldn't be the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. Maybe we should get back to things like it is about class. It is about jobs. I think they understood something, a basic truth, an inconvenient truth we didn't want to understand about immigration is that immigrants don't hold the door open for other immigrants. The moment immigrants, including our families, the moment immigrants come in, they nail that door shut behind them like it's the zombie apocalypse. And because it is competition for jobs, and we have to acknowledge that. And we've been exporting jobs for decades, and we've tightened the labor market, and we've destroyed unions. So we really do need to get back to this notion that it is about class, it is about economic opportunity. I think the Democrats get it. I just hope it's not too late.
It's interesting because Vice President Harris's whole economy plan is dubbed an opportunity economy.
Yeah.
And the idea of opportunity, and we want to help you. And Biden, to his credit, has been the most pro-union president in our lifetimes. I mean, we weren't here when FDR was here, so I would imagine he might have been a little bit more, right. But Biden has been out there. We've had many union activists on our show, officers in unions talking about the support of Biden is actually very meaningful for them. And collective bargaining does even the playing field. And I really hope some younger people, they give unions a chance. I mean, we see them organizing at Starbucks and Amazon and places. I hope more and more do it because it's the only way you're going to even the playing field in negotiations, collective bargaining. You've got this power of a bunch of you, not one-on-one where they play people against each other. And I know in America, this idea that everyone's going to become a billionaire. Well, you could still become a billionaire while you're in the union. You just do it on the side. But this idea of like, well, I want to make my own way. You can, but the union gives this baseline for everybody of benefits, of raises. And if you excel really well, you'll still be rewarded for that, your exceptionalism. It's not like you're going to lose it. I hope younger people get that. I think it really helps because it shows income inequality gap in our nation's history is smaller when we had a more vibrant union situation.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think we're living in a new Gilded Age where the tops get everything. It really is. I feel like we're living in the new 1890s where just a few tiny little group of people basically have everything. And the middle class is completely forgotten. I think the Democrats have finally changed course. I agree with you. Biden is amazing about unions. But as you know, like there's always a lag between policy and perception.
Mm-hmm.
It's like crime is down. Crime is down across the board. The problem is we've lived for so many years with this spiking crime, certainly in my neighborhood, that it's taking a while for the perception to catch on. And I'm hoping it does. Like I said, I hope it's not too late.
I'm chatting with Max Brooks, best-selling author, and does a lot of other things. I can't even recap everything. You mentioned the Gilded Age. I've mentioned that so many times. I had Congresswoman Becca Ballin on, who she represents Vermont now. She used to be a teacher, a history teacher. And we talked about the robber barons. I just bought a book literally over the weekend, more on the Gilded Age to explain to people what we're living through here. And it's a time of, that time Rockefellers and the Mellons and all this, and this collective wealth at the top. And we see it, it's really grotesque and garish with like people like not JD Musk as much as Elon Musk, but Elon Musk, JD's buddies. It's the haves and the have-not. This gap, I think it's unsustainable. At some point, something's going to break. And I don't know if it's going to be people with pitchforks or change in policy, or it really just becomes an oligarchy where they control everything and the rest of us are just throwing breadcrumbs.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've watched since I was a kid, since the Reagan era, I've watched the third worlding of America. And it really is the erosion of the middle class. FDR understood this. He said the greatest wall we can build between democracy and fascism or communism is a strong, vibrant, satisfied middle class. And that's got to be based on opportunity, not on handouts. You know, we've always called ourselves the land of opportunity. That's our state religion, which is, if you're willing to get up in the morning and work hard, you should be rewarded for that. And the Democrats have finally gotten that message. I'm hoping that young people understand that and they don't give in to apathy.
And excellent point, Max. And, you know, touching a little bit on your security background and your understanding of history as well, that, you know, if the economy is really bad now, it would be ripe to usher in a true authoritarian movement. If that authoritarian, like Donald Trump, can't execute what he has to I don't know if he's going to win or not. I really believe he's going to lose. I think if he was better, if he was JD Vance, to be honest, I think he could win and JD in the future. But the economy is pretty solid. If we were at 9%, 10% unemployment, 15% unemployment, people are looking for anything. Like, democracy is not working. Let's do something else. So thankfully, this is the time for Democrats to address that. Let's talk about something you touched on earlier at the very top about what could happen after the election. And what I'm meaning it about is just this drumbeat of authoritarian language by Trump. And we've lived through it. The guy did a terrorist attack on our soil, and he's now the Republican nominee. Like, in what world could this happen? But this is what we live through right now. Like last night at the VP debate, Tim Walz got upset, said the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check. And he got very upset at fact checking. Trump got very upset at fact checking. To me, the idea that these people want to create their own reality comes out of the authoritarian playbook. They're going to tell them what the truth is, their supporters, and their supporters are going to act in accordance based on that truth they've created for their own benefit. Do you see it like that? Does it raise red flags to you?
Oh, 100%. The latest think tank I've joined is the Center for Strategy and International Studies. Center. And we toured NATO. We just got back from a trip to NATO. We looked at all these different countries that are being attacked mercilessly by Russian disinformation campaign. And Russia's, and now China and Iran and non-state actors, their greatest export to the United States is doubt. Doubt in the system, questioning the system. This is why Russian bots go on certain, even medical websites, and they take both sides. So certain facts that we thought were indisputable are now disputed. So this is the problem, where we are exporting doubt to the American people, where they don't know which way is up anymore. And that is when dictators take hold. When you look at all these systems that have been in place since before our grandparents, even if they are strong, you don't know that they're strong. And that's what the Russians are pushing. That's what the Chinese are pushing. I mean, listen to what JD Vance said. Don't listen to the experts, because there are no experts. There's only one expert, the great father, Donald Trump. You know, democracy is predicated on the idea that we are all grown-ups in charge of our own destiny. Dictatorship is we are children, and we all need a strong father above us who will tell us what to do. That's the danger, and that's being pushed by Trump.
That line by JD, and he said it twice, really jumped out at me. And I was posting about it as it happened, that they're saying, don't listen to the experts, listen to Trump. He will define it. I remember as president when he said at an event, don't believe what you're reading and seeing, you know, believe what I'm telling you, essentially. Yeah. That last part is left silent, but we knew what he meant. Don't believe what you're reading and seeing. And so when you hear Trump now say things like, and he said it just last week, the only way I can lose, the only way is if they cheat, and they're going to cheat, that type of thing. That was the radicalization process that led us to the January 6th attack. It's like an Al-Qaeda or ISIS recruiter. We're back to the radicalization. How concerning is it to you? And do you think, because we learned the lesson of January 6th, that they'll be more on guard, or does it not matter? We're going to have pockets of violence. Like, what do you see happening around Election Day and soon after Election Day?
I think the amount of violence will be in direct proportion to how close the election is. This is why voter turnout is so important. There can't be any doubt. You know, if it comes down to just a few thousand votes in these swing states, you can see that the Trump appointed election officials can discount them. They can cry foul. They can cry cheating. And then you can really see violence take off. If it's overwhelming, then there would be a big problem. Because Biden is in office, because the Democrats are in office, it's much harder to do a January 6th now if it's overwhelming. But if it's close, if too many young people, too many doubters stay home, we could have a real problem.
Yeah, if this election ends up, Vice President Harris wins the exact minimum of 270 electoral votes, and it's by a few thousand votes in some of these states, it will be ugly. My grave concern, Max, here's my big concern is we know election night, in all likelihood, Republicans in the early counts are leading because they count the day of voting. And we saw that, we lived through that in 2020, and then the mail-in, which Democrats use. I could see Trump, because remember, as president, he was like, stop the count, saying stop the count and go down there and stop the count. And some of his minions actually go down to local voting locations, like say in Maricopa County in Arizona,
Yep.
or in Pennsylvania area, and storm the voting locations to stop the count, saying it's fraud. We know it's fraud. Then all hell breaks loose, because then you can't even certify the votes. And they use the 12th Amendment, but not to get to that, I just see this man is perfect for destabilization. I mean, Russia couldn't have dreamed of a better person than Donald Trump to undermine our democracy.
Yeah, I worry. I don't worry about a massive January 6th again at the Capitol. But like you said, I do worry about little January 6th all over the country. Like you said, in little counties, polling stations. What if a mob storms a polling station, sets it on fire, and burns those ballots up?
Yep.
It's very, very possible. And that's what's so scary about it being such a close election. That's why it does come down to voter turnout. Everybody who loves Trump is going to vote for him, but not everybody who hates him is going to vote. And we hear this all the time where people say, well, I don't know enough about Kamala. I just don't know enough. You know enough about Trump. Do you want Trump or do you not want Trump? And if you don't want him again, you've got to vote for Kamala. It's that simple.
Absolutely. I'm chatting with my friend Max Brooks. Max, you said you were just touring with NATO. You were in Europe. When you speak to people over there, and even people that part of your organization here dealing with security, how much of a sense is there concern about our democratic republic and its sustainability going forward?
They're terrified that America is going to retreat back into isolationism, because what's crazy is our allies understand something in our culture that we've forgotten, which is we are the world's only isolationist superpower. And that's never happened in history. Every other superpower that's risen, from Rome to Britain, wherever, they're thrilled to plant their flag all around the world. They love it. We don't. We're always looking to come home. Whenever somebody around the world chants Yankee go home, we go, yeah, I know, we're working on that. So they understand, our allies understand, that there is always that deep vein. And if Trump gets in, he's going to play on that. And he did. He did for 4 years. He said NATO's a scam. They're ripping us off. We don't need it. You know, he laid the groundwork for Putin's invasion of Ukraine by degrading NATO and by emboldening Putin. And if he gets in, our allies, not just in Europe, but also in Asia, are terrified that it's going to be Yankee go home. And then dictators around the world are going to say, okay, roll in the tanks.
That's frightening. And it's interesting, though, when you think about the DNA of our nation. I mean, in Washington's farewell address, he talked about foreign entanglements and avoiding it and using the oceans to keep yourself safe. So almost drilled into the DNA of this democratic republic is this idea of don't get involved. Now, they were only a teeny little country then. We've not been as imperialistic as we could have been in the past. Right now, I think we're on the decline a little bit. It's not the best thing. So last thing, and I want to touch on this more from a military point of view, is in the Middle East right now, we're in a holding pattern in that, Iran fired about 200 missiles yesterday, overwhelmingly intercepted, some crashed, but thankfully no one was hurt. You see Lebanon, over 1,000 people killed in a week. It's just, and there might be a land invasion. Israel, Netanyahu might respond against Iran on some form. Is there a way not to have a regional war where we are right now when you look at this?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a way. I think if first of all, if Trump is president, oh yeah, he'll push it, and he has no idea what he's doing, and things will spiral out of control. I think if Trump is elected, if Kamala is elected, I think it will give this country some breathing room. I actually just spoke to somebody high up in national security. I was just in DC, and he said this country needs to catch its breath. And I think we will have 4 years to stabilize because we need that right now. Because we have to also remember with Iran, the Iranians are no friends to the Arab people.
No,
And
Saudi hates them.
yeah,
Saudi would cheer us bombing Iran. I mean,
oh my God. Yeah, well, and Iran would welcome a giant war. As much as they claim to hate Israel, it's really about domination of the Persian Gulf. The real big war is the Saudis and the Gulf states versus Iran.
mm-hmm.
And we're holding that back right now. If we were to suddenly withdraw, we were to say, well, it's not our problem anymore, we'll just sell weapons to the Saudis, which is Trump's idea. I think we could be facing a real major war in the Middle East, not just with Israel and Iran, but Israel, the Gulf states, every proxy Iran has, and Iran in general.
Yeah, I was reminding people yesterday, Iran's a nation of nearly 90 million people. That's a big country. They have a lot of people, a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And depending if they have the armament, what they have, it could be brutal battles. I mean, they fought Iraq for 10 years. I mean, you just kept dying and they didn't care. They just kept coming. So, well, Max, my friend, it's great chatting with you. I always enjoy catching up with you. And I look forward to chatting with you in the future, especially when you come back to New York here. We'll get together and let's win. And please tell your dad, I hope he's doing well, and say hi to your wife and your son, of course. But please say hi to your dad if he remembers me. I haven't talked to him in many years. And I'm glad that he endorsed Harris and Walz, just like you did. And let's win this thing. We got 30 plus days. That's it.
Let's win this thing, buddy. All
Take
hands
care,
on.
all hands on deck.